Now that version 4.4 is getting closer, this means the second part of Fate collaboration is also around the corner. Hence, Rin Tosaka banner will arrive sooner than you expected. But is she going to worth your jades at all? Okay, we will start by taking a general look at her kit and how she plays. After that, we will cover her vertical investment, what makes her eidolons and light cons valuable, and whether that investment matters more or less depending on the team you are running. So before we move on, please hit the like and subscribe button. Now if you have done that, let's get this video started. Let's briefly talk about Rin Tosaka's kit. She's a quantum erudition character. At first glance, her playstyle resembles Archer's because both revolve around consuming skill points. They are not identical, but they definitely share the same resource-heavy design. She has both a standard skill and enhanced skill, with the enhanced skill being where the majority of her damage comes from. Her ultimate inflicts vulnerability on enemies, and thanks to how her kit works, she can function as either a main DPS or sub DPS. That said, running her as your primary damage dealer requires significantly more investment. Honestly, slightly more would be underselling it. You really want to stack defense ignore and pair her with the right teammates to get the most out of that playstyle. We'll go into those details later when we cover her vertical investment, but for now, let's focus on the basics of her kit. Her talent increases her own crit damage whenever allies consume or recover skill points. Every skill point spent or restored grants Rain gem energy, and once you reach 15 gem energy, or whenever your team has 7 or more skill points, she unlocks her enhanced skill. She also has a unique joint attack that's exclusive to Archer. Once Archer actively uses his skill 5 times, which effectively means consuming 10 skill points, or whenever your team drops to 3 or fewer skill points, Rin and Archer immediately launch a combined follow-up attack. The attack deals damage based on 100% of both of their attacks, while also restoring some skill points so Archer can continue attacking. The only limitation is that this joint attack can only trigger once before going on cooldown, and that cooldown resets at the start of Rin's turn. Because of that, your speed tuning becomes extremely important. Depending on your turn order, there are situations where you simply won't trigger the joint attack as often as you would like. If Rin is faster than Sparkle, you will consistently activate the joint attack every cycle, unless Sparkle eventually laps Rin. However, if you are using extremely fast Sparkle, something like 170 speed with Von Mac, Eagle, and DDD, it becomes much harder for Rin to keep the pace. Fortunately, with a more standard hyperspeed Sparkle built around 160 speed, it's much easier to tune Rin correctly. Overall, her kit can absolutely work as main DPS, but that version of her really benefits from heavier investment. That said, it's pretty clear that her primary role is supporting Archer as a sub DPS. The joint attack does a tremendous amount of work throughout the fight, significantly boosting Archer's overall damage. Those extra attacks add up over the course of longer battles, and the increased skill point cap lets Archer burn through even more skill points before running dry. Rin herself can also consume skill points whenever needed, giving you another way to drop below the activation threshold if you need to force the joint attack immediately. In other words, her kit opens up a lot of flexibility and gives you several ways to optimize your rotations. Now let's talk about her vertical investment. Is it worth it to invest more than just E0 S0 Rin? For Archer teams, the investment path is actually pretty straightforward. Realistically, your first stopping point is E0 S1. Her signature Lightcon gives Rin extra crit rate while also providing the entire team with 20% defense ignore, on top of increasing Rin's skill damage. That's already an excellent upgrade and very comfortable place to stop. But if you want to invest further, the next goal is E2. Her E1 is mostly designed for her personal main DPS playstyle, so it does not offer nearly as much value in Archer compositions. E2, however, is a different story. It boosts Rin's personal damage while also increasing the team's skill damage to 130% of its original value. That's a massive increase, especially when your team is already hitting hard. Archer's arrow shots benefit tremendously from it, making E2 the natural next investment point. So for Archer teams, her early investment path is very clear. Her signature light cone is valuable across both playstyles, and since Rin naturally wants to stack defense ignore or defense red, she can even make use of some of the more unconventional light cone options if necessary. Overall though, her own signature and E2 offer tremendous value, both for her personal performance and for Archer teams. When it comes to Ren as main DPS, the priorities shift a bit. Her E2 remains incredibly strong, but E1 suddenly becomes much more important. Honestly, a lot more important. E1 allows any gem energy consumed by a single enhanced skill beyond 30 to be converted into shadow gems. If you are playing her as your main carry, the entire strategy revolves around stacking as much gem energy as possible before cashing it all in. That's essentially how the build functions. While Shadow Gems are active, her skill upgrades into even stronger enhanced skill. It consumes all Shadow Gems but no longer converts skill points into gem energy, nor does it consume the existing gem energy you have already built up. In other words, you are able to fire off enhanced skills repeatedly with almost no downtime. That dramatically improves both her damage uptime and her overall consistency, making it one of the biggest power spikes for the main DPS build. And just like I mentioned earlier, E2 remains an excellent follow-up because percentage-based damage increases become incredibly valuable once you are already dealing high damage. So if you are building main DPS Rin, both E1 and E2 are outstanding investment, with E1 being the bigger priority. Her signature light cone is excellent regardless of which playstyle you are using. For archer teams though, it's the opposite. E2 is the eidolon you really care about, while E1 is nowhere near as impactful. It's still a decent upgrade, you will get some value from it, but compared to what it offers, her main DPS build is not even close. E2 is the real price for archer players, but if you really have a tight budget, E0S1 is more than enough to upgrade your archer teams. Finally, let's answer the biggest question: is Rin worth pulling? If you are an archer player, the answer is honestly pretty simple. Archer is already an incredibly powerful character even without Rin, but adding her to the team takes it to another level. She'll be part of all of his strongest compositions. She will consistently improve his performance, and she will remain one of his best teammates. If you main archer, you should be absolutely be looking to pick up Rin. On top of that, her team is ridiculously budget friendly. It's honestly one of the most free-to-play friendly teams in the entire game. I would even put Himeko Nova in the same category since both of their teams are extremely accessible for F2P players. In version 4.4, everyone gets Archer for free, and if I remember correctly, you'll still be able to claim him all the way through version 4.6 or maybe even 4.7. Back in version 4.0, we also got a free 5-star selector that let players pick up Sparkle at no cost. Permancer can also be claimed for free around version 3.6 or 3.7. On top of that, if you have already claimed Archer before, you will even get his first eidolon for free. So if you have already picked up Archer previously, the only character you really need to summon is Rin to fully complete and upgrade that team. That's literally it. Pretty much everything else can be obtained for free as long as you have been playing for a while. That's honestly one of the biggest reasons you are leaning toward pulling her. You are basically only adding a single character to finish an already complete team. And then you technically don't really have to worry about running out of time because her banner is not going away anytime soon. As far as I know, however, still has not officially confirmed how long it will stay up, but if you use the previous Fight collaboration banners with Saber and Archer as a reference, there's a pretty good chance Rin will remain available for at least a year. That means there's really no reason to rush. Instead of feeling pressure to summon her immediately, you can focus on the other limited character first. Unlike regular banners that disappears after a few weeks, Rin's banner should stick around much longer. Personally, even if I decide to get her, I probably won't summon right away. I will likely wait until I pick up the upcoming Elation units and see exactly what Nihilix's role turns out to be. If Nihilix ends up being a pure DPS, then my Elation team should already be finished. And that's probably when I will start spending my pulls on Rin. For main DPS Rin though, I would only recommend if you are willing to invest properly into the team. One thing that's practically non-negotiable is Sparkle. Just like Archer, main DPS Rin really wants Sparkle by her side. Ideally, you would even have E2 Sparkle because of the additional 30% defense ignore she provides. As I mentioned earlier in the video, stacking defense ignore is one of the biggest reasons Rin damage scales so well. Her own S1 already contributes 20% defense ignore, while Sparkle E2 adds another 30%, putting you at 50% defense ignore before considering anyone else. Then you have characters like Seridra, who is one of Rin's strongest teammates, possibly the strongest for her main DPS setups. Seridra's E1 grants roughly 16% defense ignore. It provides additional 20% defense ignore specifically for skill damage, which just so happens to cover virtually all of Rin's damage output. So you are really going to want that E1 Seridra, E2 Sparkle, and Rin's signature light cone because stacking defense ignore is what truly unlocks her damage. So if you are someone who already has the right support investments, again, E1 Seridra, E2 Sparkle, and you are able to grab at least Rin's E1 and preferably her signature light cone as well, then she's absolutely worth considering as main DPS. As for when Rin is not worth your Stellar Jade, it's pretty straightforward. If you don't play Archer, there's a little reason to pick her up since you lose access to the joint attack mechanic that makes their pairing so powerful. And if you are planning to use her as your main DPS but don't have the proper support investment, whether that's only having E0 Sparkle, lacking Seridra entirely, or not having Sparkle at all, then I would honestly recommend skipping her. Sparkle is especially important to the point where I would not recommend main DPS Rin without her. So that's my overall verdict on whether Rin is worth your jades. I want to know about you guys. Are you still willing to pull Rin for your archer, or he is still doing fine without Rin and you will skip her instead? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button. Turn on notification as well so you won't be missing out on any of my style content. I will see you guys on my next one. Bye bye.